My name is Lindsay Payne. I'm the Director of Service Learning here at Purdue, out of the Office of Engagement. So my job really is to connect faculty and community partners around service learning projects. And I operate across campus, so not just in engineering, but broadly. I also have an assistant professor of practice position in environmental and ecological engineering. So I wear 2 hats on campus. So that's a little bit about me. How about you all? So maybe tell me your name, the year you're in school, are you junior, senior, freshman, and then sophomore, and then what team you're on would be good. So how about, go ahead and start for me.
My name's Owen Manuel. I'm an FYE and I'm on GLASS.
What's GLASS? Is that?
It's the Greater Lafayette Area Special Services. So
Nice.
Are you testing me?
Well, I knew what it was, but I didn't know if everybody did. Like GLASS, like, well, it's GLASS. Yeah. All right. Yes.
Hello, I'm John Lucas. I'm a freshman in integrated business engineering.
Okay.
I'm on AAEE, which is like Aero Education, something like that. It's a pretty big team.
Okay. And what are you working on broadly?
I'm working on like an exhibit for like a Purdue Space Day, which is like for geared towards middle schoolers.
Okay. And how about the GLASS team? What are you guys working on broadly?
My project is an electromechanical wheelchair arm.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. What's you?
My name is Zach Miles. I'm a freshman. I'm a physics major.
Okay.
And I'm on the medical team.
And who's your partner?
Partner.
Yeah. So who are you guys working with in the community?
Working with Salvation Army School in Ghana.
Oh, in Ghana. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So an international team. All right. Okay.
And I'm in the GAPS team, so it's the Global Active Problem Solving team, and specifically in Brazil.
In Brazil? Okay. All right. Who are you working with in Brazil specifically?
Well, our goal is to create a new media center, so we're working with the filmmakers and the Kyopo.
The Kaipo? Okay. All right. I thought that was that project, but I wasn't sure. Okay.
Hi, I'm Kala, and I'm in a freshman FYE.
Okay.
I'm on the B&E team, more specifically the Pillminder.
Oh, okay. So you submitted something for our summit that we had. You had a poster. Yes. Okay. I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Mary. I'm an FYE, and I'm currently on DISC. And the project that I'm on is BIO, which is biology quiz app for students and teachers.
Okay. And who are you working with? Like, who's the friend?
Tree.
Sharice. And what is that, an organization? Is it part of an organization?
No, she's the woman here.
Oh,
We're
okay.
working with like schools in I think Baltimore and maybe Washington D.C.
Oh, okay. Okay. Awesome. Okay.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm a senior, and
My team is 4.
And what are you guys working on?
We're building a vending machine for the food pharmacy.
Oh, for pharmacy. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have some international, some domestic. Okay.
I'm Ethan. I'm an FYE and I'm on the conservation team.
Okay.
I do bridges. So we're building bridges in Nisha's land trust property.
Oh, okay. So you're working with Shannon Stannis now, who has started a new position there. No? Yeah.
I'm working with Bill Arthur.
Oh, with Bill. Okay. Yep. I know Bill very well. He's awesome. Yeah.
Charlie. I'm a freshman in FYE.
Okay.
I'm on the IFBBI team on the reach sub team, and we're working on translating Braille to text.
Okay. And who's your community partner that you work with for that?
The Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Okay. All right.
I'm Kaylin. I'm an FYE, and I'm working with Habitat for Humanity team to design a product sponsor.
Okay. All right. So we're introducing ourselves, and we're telling everyone what year you are and what team you're working on. So you're up.
Okay, I'm Yao. I'm a freshman.
Okay. And what EPICS team are you working on?
GAPS.
What's that mean?
It's Global Active Problem Solving. So we're working on building a media center for community in Brazil.
Awesome. Same team as you, right? Okay.
My name's Daniel. I'm in the FYE and I'm working on ethics party. That's create accessible racing.
Okay.
Doing a mechanism to help accessible racing for a car.
Awesome. Okay, come on in, have a seat. All right. Well, it helps me to kind of know what teams you guys are on and where you're located as well, because that kind of changes some of the framing that I do. So we're gonna talk about a few things. Number one, we're gonna talk a little bit about who we are as individuals and really self-assess our own positionality or what biases we bring to the table, how we've been raised, what kind of thought processes and things like that come to our projects. We'll talk a little bit about assessment, and then we're going to go over the top 10 ways project fails. And we have gathered that data from our community partners. So this is real concrete information that I would strongly recommend we all listen to so that hopefully we don't fall down that path. So, oh, oops, I hit the wrong button. First things first, why do we self-assess? Why might we want to do that? Well, it's important to know who you are as you enter into these partnerships. Because no matter who we are, what we've done, where we've come from, we're going to bring things like biases into a partnership, stereotyping, things like that. Whether we realize it or not, we're going to do that. So it's really important to kind of think about who you are and how you might interact and engage when you're working with your partners. You know, I'm a female, I identify as female. I'm a mom. I come from upper middle class upbringing. I'm an environmentalist, like a tree hugger at heart. But all of those things impact how I interact in my partnerships. So it's really important to kind of think of those things as you do. So before we get much further, I want you guys to take these two scales. They're short. There's 13 questions, okay? Don't think too hard about them. Just complete the scales, and then we're going to talk just a little bit about your reactions to doing so, okay? So just real quickly, jot down your answers. And again, don't overthink it. Does everybody have one? Did I pass out enough copies? Yeah. Extra one. Okay, about one more minute. Okay, whether you're done or not, that's okay. Just go ahead and stop. I'm not going to collect these, so it's not for a grade. What I'd like you guys to do is to get into small groups and really talk about a few things as you were taking that scale. So how did you get to your answers? Did you, or what did you discover about yourself as you were answering some of those questions? Did it challenge your way of thinking about power, privilege, who you are, where you came from? And then how might this impact the lens in which you're designing? And be prepared to share out. So maybe the three of you, and then I think everybody else can kind of pair off. Maybe the two of you right here, and then kind of get into pairs. Just have some conversation. How about if you go the two of you, then the two of you can go, and the two of you. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so you guys are having good conversations. I hate to interrupt, but I want to hear what you're talking about. So what are you talking about? I think I don't remember what you said, but you got a number and you reacted with, whoa, really? So what were you guys talking about?
We're good friends, so I was expecting a different answer from him.
Ah, okay.
But we were saying how, depending on the context, you're looking at the first set. Like he was saying, he was looking at it through the lens of like classes and school.
Ah.
It'd be very different than like an overall world perspective.
Okay. And how did that change your perspective? Because I've done these scales too, full disclosure, and I definitely did the same thing. Well, if I was a teacher, what would I say? If it was me, what would I say? So.
Well, I think a lot of these questions, you kind of have to apply a case by case scenario, and we talked about like for school wise and academics, for 4, we kind of talked how like we kind of agreed with that statement more, which is talking about like misfortune like being brought on oneself. We agreed with it more in an academic sense.
Okay.
But then more in like a real life sense, we kind of leaning towards lower grades.
Okay. Okay. All right. How about you guys? What are some things you talked about?
I guess we kind of talked about how it's, again, like really hard to understand where the context is coming from. So basically, like verbatim, what they were saying was just like, you don't really know. So I guess we tended to stay more towards like the lower side or the neutral side, just because it's like, well, we don't know. We need more.
Okay. Right. So you need more information. You feel like to answer the questions accurately. How about you guys?
We kind of talked also about like the misfortune one because we were thinking of it more like in the broader sense where like, yes, sometimes people do bring things on themselves, but a lot of time it's just kind of like happens no matter like what you do.
Yeah, I think I have this slide. Have you all seen this slide before? Yeah, some of you have, right? So I just find this slide super intriguing because if you're thinking about making equal access to all opportunities, that question specifically gets at this, right? Then that's probably not going to work for everyone. What about if you make it equal, so you evenly distribute? Well, okay, that may mean that one person still can't access it. And then if you think about equity, so you have custom tools so that perhaps some people with differing circumstances can now access the resources as equally as everyone else. But this justice one is kind of a new piece of the puzzle. I haven't seen this very often, and I like it. That not only are you talking about tools and resources to help with equity and access, but you're also talking about fixing the system, which that's not easy to do, right? And I'm talking big system, like racial injustice kind of system stuff, right? But I do think these questions can get at some of that, right? So I just showed you that because I like that graphic. Thanks for softball pitch right to me. That was good. How about you guys? What was something you talked about?
We just kind of went through the first one, and we got stuck on the misfortune one as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought about it in a general kind of sense, in that, I don't know, I think mine is maybe a little bit too optimistic. Most of the time, misfortune happens out of, like, premeditated, like, situations and stuff was mine.
Okay. Okay. How about you guys, like, did you learn anything about yourselves when you took this? Yeah.
I guess I'm going to have a very different perspective from other people just based on my lived experiences.
Yeah.
Because I may have had an easier upbringing than other people, so I'm going to see the world differently.
Sure, and you're a white male, right? I mean, like, let's just call a spade a spade. Like, life's not been so bad for you, probably. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but I'm just saying, like, very broadly speaking, that those lived experiences do matter, right? How about you guys?
I found that especially for the social dominance questions, my answers were pretty polarized. Like either I strongly agreed with what was being said,
Okay.
or I completely disagreed with them.
And why do you think that is?
Just my worldview, I feel like how people are treated in this world generally unfairly.
Okay.
There should be justice for everyone. Everyone should
Sure.
have
Okay.
the same opportunities as everyone else.
Yeah. So why do you think I had you do these scales? Like, what was the point in all this? Just so we could have something to talk about and fill the time? Yeah.
Understand our own biases and preconceived.
Yeah, to really get you to think about, you know, who you are again and like what you might be bringing to your design. right? I mean, so you're thinking that like, I'm bringing this mindset that like social justice for all into my design, right? And that's important to acknowledge that and know that. Others may be bringing this like, well, you know, misfortune is brought upon yourself, and you bring that to the design. So again, it's important to think about these things as you enter into your partnerships. And that's really what I call positionality. That's what they call it, this fancy academic term, right? It's the facets of yourself. It's who you are, how your upbringing, how your lived experiences manifest themselves. It's your gender identification. It's the color of your skin. It's your nationality. It's all of those aspects. And all those things do matter at some level when you're getting into this design phase and you're working with your partners. So I say all this because I know you guys do reflection, and I know you self-assess a lot in EPICS because that's a requirement, right? So as you're thinking about your design process, don't be afraid to add in some of that self-critical and self-reflective component, thinking about who you are and what your lived experiences might be doing in terms of your decision-making in your design, okay? And there's different ways you can do that: open discussion, self-introspection, even doing yoga can sometimes help, right? There's all these things you can do to start getting into that self-reflective space. And I think it's important, though, to, as you start to do this and have these conversations with your peers, even with your partners, is that, you know, you need to be respectful. And I know these are common sense things, but sometimes I think we just forget about that. Acknowledge power differentials. Even coming to a partnership as a student at Purdue University holds a sense of power and privilege that your partners or your clients or the constituents you're serving may not have. So that does matter, and you should acknowledge that. And I think more importantly, one of the best ways we can really be good partners and address who we are is to listen. So make sure you're actively listening to them as you go. Any questions about this kind of self-reflective space? Okay. Well, then let's get into the maybe fun but not so fun stuff. So, top 10 ways to ensure your project will fail. All right. And again, this comes from community partners, so I'm sharing this so you can avoid all of these things happening, hopefully. All right. So number 10, lack of research. So, and I see this oftentimes, we do a quick Google. Yep, that'll tell me everything I need to know about my partner, right? Nope, doesn't quite work that way. A lot of these partners don't have a presence on Google, number one. And how can you really learn about their infrastructure inside their building or their clients in just a quick Google? So do things like go to the site if possible. Get virtual tours if you're talking about the Kayapo. What are there ways that you can learn about your partners? Are there others that have been on those sites and can give you information? So dig deep. Think about asking people and asking questions. Don't be afraid to interview your clients, your partners, your stakeholders, however you refer to them. I do see it happening a lot where students just get a little afraid to reach out to those partners and ask questions, but the more of the relationship building you can develop early on, the more you're going to get to know them, and the better your designs ultimately are going to be. Number 9, the reason they fail: time. And we all do this, right? We all procrastinate. We all underestimate the amount of time it's going to take to do the work. So you guys are seniors, right? You've been doing these projects for a long time. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah.
I see nodding, yeah.
Yeah, I think in ethics in general, but just in practice in general too. Like,
Yeah. Try and just acknowledge that it's going to take you longer than you think. And don't be afraid to ask questions. There are no stupid questions when it comes to this kind of work. But not asking those questions is going to create more time, and it's going to slow down your process. So don't be afraid to do that. Lack of planning. This is the number 8 reason projects do fail. I think the most important aspect of this slide is that you have to clarify your expectations between your partners and yourself, right? Are you actually developing, designing, doing what they want? Have you asked them more than once? Because sometimes we don't even know what we want until we're asked 25 different ways, and then we eventually get to what we want, right? Have any of you experienced that, where there's been a lack of clarity of expectations and suddenly, the aha moment comes on? I mean, this could be like a relationship, right? That's what a partnership is. You know, I think we're dating. Nope, no, we're not. Never talked about it, right? Like, those are clarifying expectations, okay? And communicate with your partner I think you guys do that daily, or not daily, weekly typically, right? And I think that's really important to keep that line of communication open. And this goes to number 7. Number 7, the reason they fail, lack of communication and talking. Treat it like a job. Keep the lines of communication open. I've never heard a partner say, oh my God, the team talks to me too much. Never heard that, right? It's important to communicate. How many of you have a communication person on your team that does this on a regular basis? You should all raise your hand, right? You all have a designated communication person. How often do they communicate with your partner? Yeah.
I kind of email the teachers like every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
We have to have our new set of teachers at the beginning of the semester, like 3-ish weeks in, and then I email them saying like, hey, can you fill out our survey? I guess our one issue is that they don't really reply to us all that often.
Yeah.
But other than that, I emailed them recently, talk about another survey and all of that.
And do you ever ask your partners, is email the best way to communicate? Because sometimes people don't communicate over email. How many of you love to communicate over email? Yeah, that's what I thought, right? Now, most of our partners are a little different, but some of them may text. I have a community partner I work with right now that like I email into the abyss with him. I mean, I don't know why I bother. I know better. If I pick up my phone and I shoot him a quick text, bam, I get an answer like that. So making sure that you're also communicating using the appropriate channels that your partners want too. Teachers are tough. Teachers are tough.
We have our like main project partner, Therese, who works here. So
Yeah.
it's communication with the teachers.
Okay.
It's more of like, I don't know how else I can communicate with these teachers because I think
Yeah.
if I did anything other than email, it'd be a little weird.
Yeah, and that's something you could ask. You said Sharice is her name? Ask her. Like, are there other things you can do, or is that really truly sufficient? I mean, I think those are good questions to ask. Number 6 reason project fails. It's all about me. Now, I know that none of you would intentionally do this because you get into this work. Nobody joins EPICS because they don't care about communities. Like, you're in EPICS because you have that kind of caring nature. You want this experience to work with others, and engineers at our fundamental core, that's what we're meant to do, right? Help people through our engineered work, right? But I do caution you that sometimes as the semester progresses, we forget less about our partner and we think more about us, and that just happens. So it's just something to think about and keep in mind as your schedules get busier and busier throughout the semester. Number 5, we expect the partner to do things that aren't really what they expect to do. So number 1, be at our beck and call. Like, I mean, let's just be honest, they're not paid to work with us. I mean, some of them may be contributing some funding, but those are rare cases of EPICS partners. Typically, they are small entities with very low capacity. They don't have time to be at your beck and call. So if you need something from them, you want to make sure you ask far enough in advance. And I would say, too, don't be timid and expect the partner to always initiate. Like, you expect them to do that because they're the adults, right? Well, you're the adults, too. So don't be afraid to kind of take your arms and wrap it around that project and help move it forward. They won't think you're bossy. They'll be grateful that you're doing that because they're really busy people. So take initiative, I think, is how I'll leave that. Number 4, the number 4 reason that the projects fail. What we really think you need is. So it's awesome to come up with a real cool, shiny, technological solution to a problem. But that might just not work for what your partner wants. So make sure you truly understand what they need. And it may end up not being as exciting as you hoped, but it meets their need. And again, that's really, really critical, is taking that time to clarify those expectations and the project outcomes and make sure you're on the same page. Number 3, a usable project. This is kind of the same thing. You want to create something that's really cool and fancy. And maybe it's, let's just say something as simple as a website. You add all of this fancy code to a website, and suddenly it's useless because the partner can't edit it, ever. So it's great for that snapshot moment in time, but it's not dynamic because it can't be changed. So again, thinking about what is usable and what they have the staff and capacity to actually do and implement. Number 2, no follow through. So students, people alike, not just students, everyone does this, right? We fail to follow through oftentimes. But I can't emphasize enough how important it is to do that in these projects. These partners are counting on you, so you need to follow through. And if there are problems and challenges, who do you go to? What's the structure in EPICS for like, okay, we've run into a problem, now what? What do you do? Uh-oh, I was like, oh no.
Probably first go to our advisors for
Yeah.
experience and advice on the issues we're facing.
Yeah, so don't just ignore it. Go to that advisor and have a conversation and try and figure out what's going on. Maybe it's that your partner, I don't know, is not emailing you back. Don't just let that go. Keep following through and being persistent. And then the last thing, and I know this seems hard to believe, but this is what our partners say. The number one thing that happens over and over when projects fail is students fail to show up. And it could be a multitude of reasons. You got busy because of finals. One person thought the other person was going to be there. Whatever it might be. But make sure you show up. And sometimes it happens where you just cannot meet for some reason. But just communicate that. That's okay. It happens in life, right? But do make sure you're showing up or you're communicating if you can't. And I have had instances where some partners just stop working with Purdue because we don't show up. And I'm not saying this is EPICS projects. These are like across the board on our partnerships, right? But I mean, if your students, your partners aren't showing up for you, why would you keep putting in the time? So I just tell you these things so that you know to make sure you don't do those, all right? Any questions about those top 10 reasons projects fail? No? Okay, so I have some scenarios for you. I want you guys to kind of talk through some of these scenarios and come up with a response. So let's do like a group of 3. Here's a scenario. Maybe you 3 do a group. And then let's do the 3 of you guys can jump into a group and come up with a response for these scenarios. Let's see. I think I need that one. And I'm going to give, well, the 4, you can all talk about this one. Let's see. Hold on a second. I don't think we've done this one. There we go. I've got more copies, so you can pass that down and I'll get you guys another one. There you go. Okay. Okay, so talk about what you guys would do, and then we'll share out around the room. These are real stories and scenarios that have happened. Yeah, you guys have the slides, so it's kind of easy for you. Do you guys need another copy? I have. Is this the email one?
Yeah.